So, okay, here we are. I've got the lumber that I ordered back a couple weeks ago for this job. Now, what I ordered, and I don't think I mentioned in the last video, for this job, I'm going to make it out of knotty alder. I talked with the client. The picture to me looked like oak, but after consulting her, she wanted a little lighter wood, and I thought that alder would be a good wood. And she wanted a little bit of character, so I told her knotty alder would be a good choice. It's quite a bit lighter. It's softer, of course, but it's plenty hard. And since it does have a little character added by dents and that kind of thing, will really be a non-issue. Just give it more character. So what I ordered was 8/4 material for this. So it's 2 inches thick, basically. Now this is rough. It's not really that rough, but it is technically rough material. And the idea is, for example, the top, when it's all been planed down, sanded, I kind of want to hit for right around 1 3/4 inches thick. So I think that's doable. It's only 6 feet long, 3 feet wide. So what I've done, I've brought this lumber in from my supply of lumber, my lumber racks, and I'm just going through it now to see what would work for the top. The reason I'm pulling out the material first for the top because it's the biggest. It also needs to be straight. I'm looking for good knots, so that's the first thing I want to do. Now I'm not necessarily going to glue it up right now. I just want the material. So I was just looking at this piece here. This one is, I'm going to reject this one right off the bat because it's not straight. It's got a pretty good bow. I would say that's pretty close to a 1/2 inch bow. You've got a little cracking here. It's probably a fracture, stress fracture from when it was being dropped. And of course I'm going to be looking for good knots like this one here. And then, like I said, straightness. Actually, this one's a little bowed too, so I'm going to pull that off to the side too. So I'm going to go through this and look and see which ones are straight, have the good knots, color. I want good color. Here we have cracks. Of course, this is at the end. This is a check. This is just drying. Usually you don't get those in the middle, but I'm going to look for those things. Here's a little bit of a damage right there. So that piece, unless it works this way, which it doesn't even look like it's going to work that way either because of these knots. These are too big of knots. I don't want to, I am going to fill knots with epoxy, but that's just too big, too noticeable. I don't think she would like that. So, let's see. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is, now, I ordered 150 board feet. And so I calculated up what I needed originally, and I came up to about 80 board feet, considering the fact that this is 8/4. So a 6-inch wide piece by 1 foot times 2, the double thickness, 8/4, is a board foot. So I ordered 150 board feet, but I need about 80 board feet. So I actually ordered about 100% more, really close to that. And so I should have plenty of material. But I'm going to pull out the top material, get that out of the way, set it aside. And since these are 10 feet long, we're looking at about a 4-foot drop or less. But those will come in handy for the pedestal. Other shorter pieces. There's a lot of short pieces on this as well too. So, well, I think I have more than enough material. So what I'm going to do next is cut it on my radial arm saw. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is cut them off to length. And now, recollecting back to my top, it's 6 feet long. That's 72 inches. And since this, I don't know if you noticed, or I don't think I mentioned it, but this top has the breadboard ends. So depending on how wide that is, will determine how much shorter I need to cut it. And in this case, I think on the drawing, or I should say the picture, looked to me to be about 8 inches, but I'm just going to figure it as a 6-inch caps, breadboard caps. And so I'm, rather than 72 inches, I need these to eventually be finished at 5 feet, 60 inches. So, but I want to cut these long, and usually I will cut things rough like that at least 2 inches over, but in this case I think I'll play it a little safer and I'll cut them 4 inches over. So I'm going to cut these at 64 inches. So now I'll just set my fence there, 64 inches. So, looking at this piece, I looked at how straight it is. Actually got a bit of a twist to it, but I still do need to flat joint these, so that's not an issue unless the twist was too much. But I'm just going to cut this thing, like I said, 4 inches long, but it's so important to cut the end off. This piece of lumber is quite pristine. I don't even see any check marks except for here at the bottom, maybe a little one, but that doesn't matter. I need to cut that off. So I'm going to cut off at least starting with 2 inches off, and then I'm going to check it and see if there's any checks in any farther. I do not want checks. You don't want a check to show up in the finishing process or after you've got everything glued together. Although this is a little forgiving because it's rustic. You could fill it with epoxy, but I really don't want to go there. So I'm going to do everything to keep from having that happen. So even though there wasn't checks on the end, as soon as I cut in, checks showed up. So, well, I guess there are some more checks in it, but they're worse on the inside. So I'm going to keep cutting until that's gone. Another 2 inches off. Still have one. There's still one right there. Okay. So, I'm good now. There's no checks. Piece of wood doesn't break. So that tells me that I'm good. Now I'm going to cut it off at the 76. Okay, so here's all my pieces. I cut them off. Like I said, I cut more than I need because obviously I'm going to need to straighten these up, and in just these right here I'm sure I'll lose at least 2 inches, if not more. But you can see here I've got, there's a bad knot right there. I know that's gone. Actually, it's going to be pretty close, a couple inches, but it doesn't matter. I've got more material. I don't want to cut too much and have a bunch of scrap right at 76 inches. So you can see this piece here is a little lighter than the rest. This is the way I have it laid out right now. This one actually over here is a little bit lighter, so if I transition, move these around a bit, and have them blend in, when it comes time to glue them up, I think that'll work just fine. This is lighter. This is probably the darkest one here, these two. This actually is even another color, but similar to this. But I'll move them around. I think it'll work out great.